everybody in Comm 101. I wanted to make this video about week 10, which is coming up, which normally would have been our class this coming Friday, March 27th. And I'm sure that you probably would have all been super excited because that would have meant that that was your last class before your spring break, which is still true, although it's going to be a little different spring break this year. If you go to Titanium, you'll see under week 10 that your writing lab will be about writing for broadcasters specializing in broadcast news. Because we're limited to so much time, I'm going to concentrate on writing for television news instead of trying to cover both television and radio. You'll see here that I've put several resources for you to help you with this. This is, again, a completely different style writing. And you should have seen that from your reading assignment. For example, you write far more in the present tense than in the past tense or in the future tense because you may be talking about something that's coming up. You're going to see a lot of acronyms and things that you've probably never seen before, like VO is a voiceover. I actually gave you some sources from a professor named Jeanette Abramson, who's at the University of Florida in Tampa, and she teaches online, and she provided some excellent resources that I've got shared here for you. You can click on the links. I also included an example of a script. And then this WBA newsroom, which is the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association, has a bunch of great learning tips for people, more so for people who've already worked in the news industry but are switching over into broadcast. So here's what a script looks like, and then here's some tips for news writers. That's a really good summary. I really highly recommend maybe even print this out. Then I have the Craft of Broadcast News Writing, which is a PDF. Again, great tips. You might want to print these out from Professor Pat Woodward, who teaches in South Carolina at the College of Charleston. So your assignment is actually two parts, 10 points each. The first one is Poynter Institute, which helps journalists stay educated, has what's called NewsU, or News University, and they bring in professionals for webinars that are usually about an hour long, and because of what's happening, they've offered these free, and they're usually about $30. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll actually pay the fee and then show it during class, because then my students aren't being asked to pay for these. So the link you're going to click on actually goes to the web page at Poynter that explains how you set up your account and the code you'll need to access this webinar, so you don't have to pay for it. So you're going to want to do that, and then you have a writing assignment for that. All right, so then your second writing assignment, I'll go back to the Poynter in a minute because I want to walk you actually through the webinar and show you what it looks like. This is going to be where you're going to assume that you're working in a television news studio in Springfield, Missouri. Now remember where you're located, and remember the tenets of newsworthiness, because you're not in Los Angeles, you're not in that market anymore, you're in the Midwest. I want you to read these stories. Now, these are real stories that came off the wire, came off the Associated Press or Reuters or one of the newswire services, that they had to actually convert into broadcast news writing. So the one thing I ask is that number one, there's 4 of these wire stories. You're going to want to read through them, and you're going to put them in the order in which they should be put out on the air, which is most important to the people in Springfield, Missouri. Then you're going to type it, and you're going to use a Courier font, Courier New at 12 points, and you're going to double space. The reason for this is, in reality, I could take that and I could input that into the teleprompter software for the newscasters. So I want you to write it exactly as if it's going to be set down. It's going to be either put on a teleprompter for your favorite television news reporter or anchor, or it's going to be in front of them on their desk and they're going to read it. So it has to be spot on for things. For example, if you're going to talk about Los Angeles Police Department and you're going to call them LAPD, you would write capital L hyphen A hyphen P-D, and so they would know to say LAPD as an acronym and not try to figure out what it stands for, and because they'll pause, and they can't do that over the air, especially when they're live. All right, let me go back to the Poynter assignment because for some reason, it's not going to the link that I wanted it to. So bear with. I've spelled it out here for you on the, excuse me, I'm going to move my mic up a little bit. I've spelled it out here for you right on the page in titanium so you didn't click on this first and not see this. So Poynter's NewsU normally charges about $30 for these, and they've made them accessible to faculty and students for free until the end of May because of the coronavirus and how many of us are teaching and learning online. The first thing that you want to do is you're going to want to click on this link here, and it's actually their post about how this works. So they have all these courses that are open, and what I want you to do is this broadcast writing or write like you talk. Here's how you sign up. You're gonna have to register for an account, and it's when you actually go to order it, it's gonna come up as $29.95. So you need to add this coupon code, which will deduct it down to 0. And then once you do that, then you go back to this link here of visit my courses, and it'll show up, and you just click on it, and it will take you here. Courses, but if I see where I've logged in here and it shows my courses, so I'm going to click on this, and then here's all the courses that I have, and here's the broadcast writing like you talk. So if I click on it, it's going to show complete because I've already watched it. Here's a summary about it, and what you're going to learn, who should take this course, and who is going to be their guest speaker, which is Jeff Butera. And you scroll down here, it takes about an hour, and then you click here, and then it'll launch the actual webinar, which is a recording of it because obviously it was taped in April. So the first thing I generally do is make it full screen and make sure my audio is good,
NewsU webinar. I am Elena DeVore.
etc.
I'm here with Jeff Butera.
So as you watch this, make sure that you have a notepad and you're going to take notes on this because let's go back and minimize this.
So before we get started, there's a few.
Actually close this out. All right, so once you listen to the webinar, or once you get the webinar set up, so I want you to make sure you take notes, and here's what you're going to write about. You're going to first write your own summary about the webinar and 2 things you didn't or you hadn't already learned about this style of writing from what you were assigned by Professor George's or the other supplemental links and handouts and web pages that I gave you. Next, I want you to write about what do you think is significantly different from the way you've learned about traditional news writing, like for newspapers, for example, summary leads, inverted pyramid, or feature style writing. So this part of the assignment should be 1.5 to 2 pages, double spaced, and then you're going to actually submit it at the next link here. The second part of your assignment I've already explained. So I think we're good. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out and let me know. And if I don't talk to you, please have a wonderful spring break. Make it the best you can be.